the wonderful world of Disney, where you get to experience the magic of overpriced food, crowded lines, and the stroller pileups that resemble I-5 on the drive-in. It's marketed as the most magical place on earth, and when people talk about their Disney trips, they make it seem almost like a rite of passage for kids. This whole ideology was built by society and fueled by Disney as they pushed parents and families to view a trip to Disney parks as a need rather than a want, because when the kids get too old, it won't be magical anymore. Which is true to an extent, not to say you have to go to Disneyland before it's too late or you're a bad parent, but everything is magical as a kid. When I was a kid, you could have given me a stick and a rock and it was magical. The point is it doesn't have to be Disney, but Disney's marketing has somewhat made it feel like it does, and a lot of people convince themselves that they need to make this trip even if it means going into debt. Is it really Disney's fault though? Obviously, the main attractions to the park are for children, but we're not going to exclude Disney adults here. And whether or not you're a die-hard Disney fan in their mid-30s or a parent ready to haul their kids through all the magic that Disney has to offer, it's going to make a dent on your bank account. Now, to many who can't afford to drop thousands of dollars for a few days at an amusement park, they would just see this as an unaffordable vacation option and it wouldn't cross their mind again. But others have an any means necessary approach that Disney also plays into when it comes to their marketing strategy and strategic partnerships. When Walt Disney opened the first park in California during the 1950s, an adult ticket would cost you only $2.50. If we adjusted that for inflation, this would make a ticket worth about $24 in today's money. However, the current price of a ticket is a lot higher than that, coming in at around $104 to $194 depending on the day for a standard single-day entry ticket. That's not including food, hotels, travel, transportation, souvenirs, and whatever they're calling it nowadays to skip the lines. All of which has been expanded immensely since the 50s, and this is the main way the park generates its profits. We're gonna go off track just a little bit here, but this is what Disney's finance team categorizes as experiences. The experiences segment is composed of all the theme parks and resorts in Florida, California, Hawaii, Paris, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. It also includes their cruise lines and vacation club. Keep in mind this term vacation club because we'll come back to this. But the revenue partially comes from selling theme park admissions and mostly consists of food, beverages, various merchandise, resorts, and vacation stays. The experiences segment reported revenue of $9.13 billion in Q1 of 2024, rising 6.87% from Q1 2023. The segment posted operating income of $3.1 billion, increasing at a rate of 8% year over year. While this entire segment only accounts for about 39% of Disney's total revenue, it's 80% of the total operating income. Okay, now that we have an understanding on experiences and how they segment it, it's time to go back to the 50s. The California park during this decade looked very different, and it didn't even have a fraction of the experiences as today. The price for things like food and Mickey Mouse ears were also much more affordable, part of the reason why it was easier back then to budget as a family. The United States Census Bureau recorded the income of 43 million different families during 1955, and about 18 million or 2/5 received incomes of $5,000 or more, while 7.5 million or 1/5 had incomes under $2,000. The remaining 17 million or so families were somewhere within the range of $2,000 to $5,000. All of this averaging out to around $3,400 a year or $283 a month. So here's the kicker. According to the Census Bureau's online inflation calculator, $3,400 in 1955 is equivalent to about $38,655 in pre-tax income today. And look, you see this $7,900 three-bedroom house being advertised? It would cost just over $89,800 when adjusted for inflation today. So clearly we're already in some hot water compared to today's numbers. As the average US salary has gone up to $59,428 by 2023, the average American house is nowhere near that $89,800. If we use the home price to income ratio from 1955, a typical home in America today should cost around $140,000. That would keep home prices in line with income growth. But let's take a second and imagine that we're in a world where we're earning around the median income of $59,000 a year. We're out shopping for a new home and we stumble across exactly what we've been looking for, and to no surprise, it's within our budget. The house is average and it's listed at $140,000, meaning that we would pay around $978.90 at a 7.5% interest over 360 months. That's roughly 20 to 25% of our income on a mortgage payment. Sounds kinda nice, right? Almost like a comfortable way to live. But unfortunately, as most of us know, that's not the world we live in. Last year, the average home price in America was a whopping $426,000, and the average mortgage payment on that house was about $2,082, meaning realistically, the average American earning the average salary who bought an average home would be spending about 42% of their income on a mortgage payment. So while the average American is spending 42% of their income on their housing payment and then the rest going to bills, food, gas, etc., spending hundreds of dollars on just tickets to get into Disney Park, then budgeting for all the other experiences and expenses is now becoming an unaffordable luxury that the average person just can't do. Just tickets alone have grown by 6.09% each year since Disneyland opened. If this trend continues to 2031, the predicted price for an equivalent ticket would be a hefty minimum of $223.96. This would represent an 8,858% increase since the resort first opened, and on top of that, in the past 10 years, food prices at Disney parks have also shot up 61%. While the average American may feel it's unaffordable, it doesn't mean that Disney isn't going to keep trying to reach for that demographic. Society has built up this idea that Disney parks is a rite of passage for young kids, and Disney themselves plays into this idea through marketing and advertising. While families tell stories to other families about the magical experience and encouraging them to make this trip before the kids are too old and the magic has faded, Disney is continuing to push the narrative that they are a sacred destination for kids across the world. Disneyland and Disney World create new environments and make changes all year round by adding new themes, events, and feeding into any of the trends of the time, adding to the "come experience it before it's too late" messaging. This strategy triggers a special experience for new and returning visitors, since there's always something unique for everyone to enjoy and explore. This is also what gets people talking and hyping up their trip, because they feel it was such a unique experience, when in reality, is it really? The whole premise of the park being Disney themed is also a major draw, and their involvement in media and entertainment never stops as they continue to churn out new content for a new generation. Disney is very good at leaving an emotional impression on the lives of millions of people through all their ventures, resulting in a marketing strategy that successfully capitalizes on the use of nostalgia. This is also the biggest driver for what people call Disney adults, as they continue coming back to see all the changes while reminiscing about their favorite Disney character or moments. Now, this is a pretty common marketing strategy for a company like Disney, and it doesn't seem predatory in any way. They're simply utilizing their brand to reach as many park goers and Disney lovers as possible. But behind the layers hides somewhat of a dark side that's starting to come to light and be discussed more. In the last decade, Disney's been partnering with different vacation loan providers and credit card companies. Even in the 1990s, they were pushing the Disney Vacation Club, which was just a glorified timeshare program with financing and membership costs that's still expanding to this day. But for the average person who can't even fathom a Disney timeshare, or let alone a trip to Disney with today's prices, then you're in luck, because Chase Bank offers a Visa card that Disney heavily advertises, making it easier for anyone and everyone, as long as you're willing to take on potentially thousands of dollars in debt. That's where it gets a bit shady, hiking prices of everything including entry fee and food, while encouraging the need to experience the nostalgia and provide this magical trip for your children before it's too late, then offering high interest debt solutions advertised to people who can't afford it to begin with? I don't know. A new survey conducted by LendingTree found that 24% of Disney-goers have accrued debt during their trip, along with 45% of parents with children under the age of 18. The average amount of debt for these parents was around $2,000, and the number of total respondents who went into debt during the Disney trip increased by 33% from LendingTree's last survey. Concessions are the biggest driver of excess spending, as 65% of the respondents cited that the high cost of food and beverages is what got them. Additionally, 48% of respondents said that they had not budgeted enough overall for their required transportation and accommodations. And almost all of the respondents were certain that their Disney trip would only take 6 months or less to pay off. On top of that, 59% of the parents expressed no regrets over dropping a hefty chunk of change on their Disney vacation, leaving just that 16% regretting their financial decisions. LendingTree's chief credit analyst Matt Schulz said in a statement, "For many parents taking their kids to Disney, it's a rite of passage, something they remember fondly from their youth and want to experience with their kids. And because of those feelings, they're often willing to take on more debt to get there." So who is really to blame here? Is it Disney's marketing and advertising department that plays into this narrative which society created that you need your children to experience the magic or nostalgia of Disney parks while offering high-interest credit cards resulting in debt for park goers just so they can generate more revenue? Or is it the park goers themselves? Really, everyone's to blame. Advertising as "take your kids before it's too late" and "look, we have high-interest loans you can take out" is somewhat predatory. But it's not predatory enough that it's unavoidable. It's mostly just something people should keep in mind when making the decision to go on any expensive trip like this. Is it worth setting yourself back financially as a family when you could realistically spend less and still make a memorable vacation? When did visiting Disney parks become such a life staple? No one is forcing these people to spend money they don't have on something they really don't need. But then again, they don't regret it, and ultimately they pay the price when Disney keeps them in this trap. To me, the real issue is these people who feel the need to frequent Disney parks and utilize vacation loans or credit card debt without any regret. It's becoming the new norm, and those who are feeding into it are what's making it unaffordable for the rest. And it just justifies Disney to continue hiking prices until it's only accessible to the wealthy or those that can make the decision to go into debt. How long can this cycle continue, and how long can Disney parks last raising these prices until the cost just completely kills the magic? Thank you a ton to all the new viewers and those who are taking the time to watch this video. A lot of time is spent researching, writing, editing all these videos, and if it made you say, well, that's something, then we achieved our goal here today. Please consider supporting the channel. The best way to do that is by liking and subscribing. I'm working on improving with each video, so I do really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. As always, stay safe and stay curious, everyone.